Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you enjoyed AIP Con4 today. I want to dive into this reference architecture that was unveiled today. A lot of people missed it. It was in the graphics, the intro to AIP Con, and there's 5 key pillars to this reference architecture. I'm going to walk you through all 5 and what they mean. And if you're a software engineer or someone who procures software for an organization or someone who uses software every day and are confused about how to leverage AI and where it fits in your stack and what are the tools you need to build production applications, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through each of those 5 pillars. We're going to go through my Foundry stack. I'll show you how they work, what they mean, how they work together, some new features that are coming, and I'm going to tee up next week's Palantir and Coffee for you all. So get ready, here we go. All right, so the first pillar is this data processing pillar. And what that is are these AI assistants that are inside Pipeline Builder and code repositories and other parts of the stack that help you transform data. All right, so we're in my stack. I've opened up a pipeline I've been using for the SEC demo that I've been building on the channel. You can check out the previous videos. The first thing you can check out here is this generate. And if you want to create a transform off here, you could click generate. You can type in a description of what you want this transform to do. AIP will try its best to try and create it for you, and it'll create a separate node based on that. All right. The next thing you can do is you can use explain. Right, and explain can explain what a node is doing or a group of nodes are doing, and that can help you understand a pipeline someone has previously built or help document the existing one. So the next thing you could jump into is in this edit feature. There are AIP features embedded here as well. So if I want AIP to help me do a particular type of transform in this existing node, I can just type in, I can use this generate feature, and I can type in what I want AIP to try and do for me. Now, all these generation features, it does really help if you know the kind of way to describe these things so that the model can succeed in your task. Like anything, there's some skill required here. I would say that the model wouldn't understand every way there is to describe the type of transform you're trying to do. But as you learn the dialect of the model, it's going to get better at fulfilling those requests for you. And also having some knowledge about the transforms that are available is going to help you in describing those tasks you want to perform. Now, people who are familiar with data engineering, maybe working in tools like Alteryx or other data transformation, visual transformation tools, will probably have an easier time picking that up than others. But don't worry, plenty of training and documentation. I'll leave a link in the description to learn.palantir.com. But these features are very useful, and I spend a lot of my time using them because it just saves me time. So definitely learn those. They're available. And lastly, use the explain feature, right? So like, don't leave your pipelines undocumented. You can use explain, and it can generate a summary of what your transform is doing. And you can also AI suggest a name. And for if you want to explain in the rollover states in your pipeline what it's doing, you can also use this generate feature. So there's no reason to leave your pipelines undocumented, and those descriptions show up here, right? So always generate documentation, use the AIP generate functions to help you perform transforms and get started. The cool thing is too, you can modify what the model has created for you, so you're not like locked into what the model did. So that is a quick summary of everything that's available in Pipeline Builder, or most everything that's available in Pipeline Builder to help you do data processing. Also in code transformations, you have an AIP assist here that can help you fix compiler issues. It can help add comments and explanations to document your code. Can also help translate your code to other languages, which is kind of cool. I think that there's also more work being done on the inline editor, so that like AIP has the equivalent of a copilot. I've had really poor results with it. I'm not going to lie. I think it's got a long way to go, so I'm not going to demo it here. But they are working to build their own copilot, which can help write common transformation code. But most of the time, I do ignore the suggestions. I don't feel like it's really up to par. However, that feature's quickly being developed, and I expect to see more and more and more of that as Palantir develops its own models that are sort of tuned to the way you write code in Foundry. All right, next up is AIP Logic. This is one of my favorite tools. It's used to build agentic workflows in Foundry. You're going to be using it quite a bit for your AI applications, so let's go ahead and jump into AIP Logic. All right, this is AIP Logic. What is AIP Logic? Think of AIP Logic as the visual programming tool for non-programmers, citizen engineers, right? It's how citizen engineers write and deploy code. And you can do a whole host of things in here. You can define variables. You can do things like add object sets. You can perform semantic search. You can incorporate an LLM to perform work on your behalf using the outputs of previous blocks or the inputs of previous blocks. You can do transformations like in Pipeline Builder. You can do transformations of these object sets or arrays and structures or variables. You can perform ontology actions. So I could like call an ontology action. And what's really cool about AIP Logic, it's all type safe. So even when you are working with the outputs of LLMs or working with the outputs of your functions, all of that is type safe, and it can be done in a very safe way. You can also publish these so they can be consumed downstream. You can version them, right? So like you can publish and semantically version your logics, and your logics can consume other logics. You can also write unit tests in here. So if I want to create a unit test for my logic, I can, which you all should. You can view previous runs, you can see the version history, and you can see its downstream uses. So what is AIP Logic? It is the visual programming tool for citizen engineers, and it is amazing. All right, next up, operational applications. We're going to be taking a look at AIP Now, which is the distribution engine for your applications, how you distribute apps in Foundry, along with Workshop, which is the most common sort of widget-based, no-code citizen engineer application building tool. So there are two primary components to the operational applications pillar. First, we're going to talk about Marketplace, and Marketplace is a distribution mechanism for Foundry software, which includes all of your AI integrations and all of the wonderful things you've built, which you can see demos of here, and all of these come preloaded on stacks. And these can also come from independent third parties. They can come internally. You know, these applications can be published by people in your company, and you yourself can make and publish Marketplace applications. This is often used to move between, well, not often, but I have seen it used to move between like dev and prod environments. But the most common way I see this used is to bootstrap new projects within an organization using templatized solutions, or to use something that has been created by a third party like Palantir. And eventually this, I think, will power a much more robust, monetized application distribution system. So the first part, though, and the most common way marketplaces use today is by organizations to deploy their own solutions, either across environments or across teams, etc. So that's AIP Marketplace in a nutshell. This is a very deep product. The team is incredible. They've done amazing work with this product over the last year. You're going to have to do your reading and study up on this. It's not meant to be a deep dive into Marketplace by any means, but just want to understand that part of this operational applications pillar is the distribution mechanism to deploy software. Big, big deal. All right, second pillar of operational applications is Workshop. I've opened up here the semantic search demo, which comes with AIP Now. This is just one of the modules or one of the apps you can install. This is a widget-based building tool. So you see these individual widgets here. They have settings you can set up for each one. This one's the Markdown viewer. Markdown viewer can also display object references, which is really cool, so that you can like link back to things like supporting documentation when you're doing semantic search, which is a huge time saver, so you know that the answer you're getting is correct. You can also load data from functions in addition to all of the ontology objects. The way that a lot of times you'll be loading data is just directly from an object set. So like if I were to add a widget here, for example, I want to add an object table, I can select the object set that I want to display that. I don't know what these variables are, but because I didn't create this app. Let's just say I've loaded an ontology object, whatever this is, and this table will go ahead and display it, and I can add like new columns. Maybe I want to display the media reference, and it'll display the media reference for me. So just understand this is a widget-based application building tool that integrates deeply with the ontology and any custom functions your team has created. So think of the functions as your API layer. That's your backing custom APIs, but the ontology essentially is the main. You kind of think of the ontology as like that's the main data source and API layer, and it's all just pre-built for you. And all you got to do is drop in these wonderful widgets and stitch it all together, and you have a ton of selection to choose from. If I were to add another section, let's go here and I'll add a widget here. Let's see the visualizations. I can add any number of these pre-built visualization widgets, including geospatial. I can do actions like write back actions. So if I want to display a form to perform inline editing, etc. You can also embed object-backed ontology views. You can also display other custom Foundry applications. So there's like a ton of things that you can put into Workshop. And I've heard that there's even coming the ability for you to build your own widgets. So your Center of Excellence engineering teams can do more than just build the common APIs that your citizen engineers use or the common prompts, etc., and do the data modeling, but your COE can really assist in building the widgets that your team is going to need downstream to visualize all that data that are custom to your company. So think of Workshop as the citizen engineering tool, the no-code engineering tool that lets you rapidly assemble pre-built applications that are ready-made to be distributed in Foundry. So very powerful tool. There are other application building tools like Slate and the ability to host custom React applications. I'll get into those in separate videos. It's too complicated for this, and those are code-forward solutions for software engineers. But just understand that the operational applications, two primary components, Marketplace and Workshop. All right, next up is Evols. This is something I'm super excited about, but don't have access to. So we're going to speculate. Hold on, people. Here we go. All right, so I'm thinking Evols, what it is the ability to test different versions of your logics or functions to see how they're performing, in particular, how they're performing with different LLMs, right? So like one of the great things about Foundry and AIP is that I'm not locked into one LLM. I can use any number of them. I could create the same version of the same logic flows with different LLMs in them and see how they perform and just automatically pick the one that is performing the best. This is a huge, huge breakthrough, and the ability to just automatically switch based on which LLM is performing the best is a massive value unlock and going to enable a ton of innovation. All right, next up, AIP Automate. Automate is really, really cool. It allows you to trigger workflows in response to changes that happen in the ontology. It's a really common pattern in software engineering. So here we go with AIP Automate. All right, next up, AIP Automate. Automate's really cool. It allows you to monitor changes that are taking place in the ontology. This includes typical mutation events like add, remove, modify. It also has metrics changed, right? So when a set of metrics increases or decreases, this is really cool, or when a set of metrics crosses a threshold. These are all really common in eventing workflows in software engineering, where you need downstream systems subscribing to these mutation events and to be monitoring these systems. I use time-based quite a bit for reports. So if you need to generate reports or whatever, you can set up a trigger that's time-based for that. But if we were just take a look at like a typical add to an object set, right? And so let's take a look at our document chunks database or document chunks ontology object from our earlier example. I can select that one. I can define filters, right? So like if I want to filter on specific properties, I can do that. And like, for example, if I did a chunk ID, I'm only interested in a specific object or row row that's changing. I could select that, and then I can be done, right? So like this automate will only trigger when rows are added that has this filter attached to it. Now that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm going to remove that. So if you want to just be notified whenever an object is added, go ahead and just leave that filter blank, but just know that it's there. The more important part of this is the execution mode, right? Execution modes affect the scalability of these things. And they can all, because if you send, for example, too many notifications in a batch execution mode into an automate function that's responsible for handling that, you could time out, you could reach limits in Foundry. So it's very, very careful about the execution mode that you select. They all have limits, so pay attention and read the docs and understand the differences between these, right? A real common one when you, in my opinion, when you have notification workflows is typically like a per object execution if you're doing things where you need isolation to handle each change. Batch is the most common and recommended, but like per object is also really common and one that is used quite often and can also be extremely hard to scale out. So all of these I think are relatively common workflows for execution modes, and this is something that Palantir's worked really hard on to build over the last year or two. I remember when I sat down with a lot of the development team was talking about the need for stuff like this, and there really didn't exist a really cool, robust system for eventing, and now it's here, so that's amazing. If I were to choose that mode, I can choose what I want to do as an effect. I can execute our logic function we built earlier. I can execute an ontology action. I could send an email notification, and then there's some additional settings that I can add, and we'll get a summary of that automation that's done. So a really common one that people are doing is to incorporate their agentic workflows through Automate. And you can even do that directly from AIP logic. So like I can actually go over here to uses and I can create a new automation directly from here for my agents. And so this is a really powerful, easy way to create agentic workflows that are being triggered by changes in the ontology. Okay, so just understand, what is AIP Automate? It is this ability to automate not only your agentic workflows that you're building with your LLMs, but any workflow really, and including external APIs. So, and to incorporate all of your AI workflows as part of that. And that is going to be super important in this new world we're living in, where agents need to be triggered based on what's happening inside your organization. And that to me was always like my main thesis on Palantir. If you go back and watch my video from 2021, Palantir, or I think I called it, Palantir's Value Explained. Software systems back then I was predicting are changing from systems where humans are at the center to where now we're going to have AI at the center and humans at the edges, right? And that's exactly what has happened, right? Humans have been pushed to the edges because when we create these automations that are going to trigger our agentic workflows, really what we're all going to be doing is just subscribing to accept or reject university, right? Like accept or reject university means really what humans will be doing is accepting or rejecting the proposals that these models are making in response to events that happen in the system that can be observed. And so without a system like AIP Automate, you can never really fully realize that vision of a software ecosystem where human beings are at the edges kind of monitoring it and providing the human intervention necessary. So AIP Automate is a huge linchpin in that system of software evolution, and it's really enabling software systems to be primarily driven by AI. All right, so wrapping up with the OSDK. The OSDK I'll do a dedicated video on, but just understand it's a way to bundle your application or bundle all of your Foundry assets and use them in third-party applications and distribute those SDKs in a secure way. It allows you to consume via API all of the wonderful features I was showing you today, including your logics and your ontology actions and data, etc. Right? So, developer tool for building integrated apps on top of Foundry. And yes, it supports TypeScript, and yes, it supports Python. Also, you can use the native API calls, and it all comes out in this really well-documented SDK that's very easy to use and very secure. So, wrapping up, these 5 pillars really represent the first reference architecture for the modern AI stack, that next evolution of software where human beings will be pushed to the edges, will not exist at the center anymore. And I think this is really, really, really important. It's an important evolution, and I think that it's the first time I've really seen a company take a stab at this from a point of view that isn't centered around just the LLM and how that LLM becomes the centerpiece of a commercial offering. I think that the way Palantir has approached this is very agnostic and also very informed way after doing this in the military space for so long. And I think this is going to be the platform, the architecture that really propels software into the next generation. So get ready, people. Quick update on Palantir and Coffee. So this weekend, I will be releasing a new episode of Palantir and Coffee. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you very much for staying tuned in. I'm going to cover the new community forum from Palantir. I am a power user in there, so I'll cover that, and I'll cover how you can use it, and how to answer questions and post your questions and get help. I'm also going to be covering the meetups that are coming. I will be hosting meetups in Irvine, California, at undisclosed company office locations. Look for those announcements coming soon. There is a vetting process. So if you are a developer that's in the industry, or a citizen engineer, business owner, etc., you'll be welcome at these meetups, and I'll be hosting them. Also, Austin, Texas, and Boston and New York City are on the agenda. So I'll be posting that information. There'll be free swag. There'll be all kinds of cool stuff, catering, drinks, etc. Also coming up, I'm going to be talking about SaaS 2.0 again. Snowflake recently announced that Amplitude is replatformed on Snowflake, and I think that's a huge bullish indicator for, one, being right about SaaS 2.0, but two, how important that is for Palantir. And given what I just showed you today, oh my God, our company's going to eat up Foundry. Also, I'm going to talk a little bit about new SDKs that are coming for Foundry, new developer tools, and some existing ones that are out there. So stay tuned for Palantir and Coffee. It's going to be a really, really cool deep dive into the new community and the meetups that are coming, and some really cool stuff that I'm going to be involved in. So stay tuned, people, and thank you so much for listening. I will see you next time.